Well, I guess I remember the first time I was in the building was the 81-82 season, and it was my first college hockey game. The Sioux were playing the Gophers, and I knew right then, within 10 minutes, that this is the place that I wanted to come to.
I came up on a recruiting trip while I was playing for the Fargo-Moorhead Ice Sharks, and came to a game against Minnesota and just saw how passionate the fans were, and how the whole building was just in tune with the game, and what an environment it was. And
even by today's standards, it was still quite a building.
As the old Ralph began meeting the wrecking ball, memories of the home to UND hockey for 29 years came rushing back to the surface. The teams, the fans, the games, the players.
86-87 season was phenomenal. And I can remember one of the most vivid memories that I have was a series here against Michigan Tech, where Bob Joyce and Tony Herkus both scored 15 points in a series. So that was in 2 games, that was a weekend total, and in today's game, 15 points is a pretty good season. So
Terry Coward, Carl Gehring, and Scott Kobarinski called the old Ralph home during different decades. Howard and Kobarinski in the 80s, Gehring in the late 90s.
Or a really good friend of mine, Toby Peterson, who played for Colorado College at the time, just said, "Man, I absolutely hate coming up to play in your barn. You guys have the most intimidating rink," and that was always fun for me. It was to see the fans getting on the opposing team and knowing they kind of had your back right away. And again, just a really neat environment, neat experience.
At its capacity, Old Ralph held 6,100 fans. Half of the seats were reserved for UND students. Their enthusiasm was infectious. A group called The Farce became famous in the late 70s and 80s. Rowdy students who wore bright yellow construction helmets with red lights.
it was a building that a lot of players didn't want to come to because they didn't want to come into Grand Forks. They knew the atmosphere was by far one of the best in the league and in the country, and we were fortunate to be part of that.
John Gasparini with a championship in his first season as coach.
5 national championship teams called this building home. So did 21 first-team All-Americans, including some of the most recognizable names in program history. James Patrick, Greg Johnson, Doug Smale, Ed Belfour, the Herkus Circus.
Herkus has Ian Kidd breaking in. Kidd to Herkus. Herkus scores! Joyce! Bobby Joyce!
593 games left an indelible mark on the program, some etched in the minds of UND fans forever, like January 23rd, 1999.
That was the loudest I have ever heard any hockey building in my career.
It was another chapter of the Sioux Gophers rivalry. Minnesota led 3-0 and 4-1 before UND stormed back for 3 straight goals in the third period in a 6-5 win.
I remember getting goosebumps at the time and just thinking to myself, Carl, you got to keep your focus and can't let one slide here. So then not only that, somebody threw a live gopher on the ice right after too, and I remember just watching, and it was an absolute madhouse. So that's by far and away one of my favorite memories from the old barn here, and something I'll take with me the rest of my life.
Whitsitt shoots when he scores!
And years from now, when the building is gone, having given way to a new indoor practice facility, you will still hear fans and former players say, "Remember when?"